Hey, 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 happy holidays. Hi.
Mm.
How are you? Welcome back. This is episode 22 of the Kids Health Series with Lawrence August of kidsgethealthy.com. Hi, Lawrence. How are you?
Hey, Heidi. Double deuce.
The news. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Two
And
and
the
two. I feel
two
like Chuck
and
Woolery.
two.
Two and two.
That's right.
we're
And
we're
what's fun
old
is we're
kids.
old.
Do you know who the Chuck
They're
Woolery Love
Googling
Connection? Look it up.
Chuck
Yeah.
Woolery. Chuck. This
Yes,
is gonna
22.
also air on January 2nd
Yeah.
at 2 PM Pacific on Tuesday.
Deuces.
So it's
Deuces are
all
wild.
right. It's
Yes,
gotta be
yes.
good luck.
We are we're in another year as you're watching this, kids.
Time
We're talking
travelers.
from last year. Yes.
We're time jumpers.
Yes, time jumpers. But yeah, 22. It's been a fun year. And man, I hope we can do more of these in
I
2024. Is that
know.
too ambitious?
And no, and we will. And Lawrence, thank you. Thank you for signing on to do this. Thank you for your will and drive to do this. And I'm super, super grateful. I love how it is unfolding and it will continue to unfold. And as much as we get censored and suppressed because, there's no money in taking care of yourself well, we try as we may, and there are some dedicated followers out there. So shout out to all of you all. Happiest of New Year's to you. Thank you so very much for the support.
Yes,
Hi,
yes.
Neil.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Yes,
I'm
yes, Neil.
super grateful. And please chime in. Let us know what you'd like to see in the new year, how you'd like to see, if you'd like to see anything in particular. So, yeah, it's just been a loveliest formula. And I'm honored to celebrate, I think, the holidays again with you. We kicked off last year, I think,
We
in
did.
December, but we had a
We
New Year thing.
we
Mhm,
started this. We started this in December of last year. So
mhm.
yeah, we're full circle. I've been
Yeah.
thinking about something before we dive into our normal stuff. I wanted to get your take on this because this has been on
Oh,
my mind. I'm not meaning to spoil the new year, but this has been on my mind.
okay.
I've been, and this is not something brand new to me, but I've been thinking about it more lately, and I want you to weigh in on it, Heidi. The
Mhm.
beginning of the year. So if we look at the calendar year, right, and I know you may know where I'm going with this. September, right, is the ninth month, but Set is 7. October is 8. November, Nueve is 9. December, Dis is 10, right? So somewhere along the line, we got screwed up. And I feel like if September is supposed to be the 7th month, that puts March as the first month. And the reason I bring this up is I've been seeing a lot of posts about this idea that spring is really where we should be setting intentions for a new year. So I
Oh.
just want to throw that little curveball in there because why I wanted to bring that up. Why I wanted to bring that up is because I think, obviously this is a time when people do their New Year's resolutions and we're all kind of programmed in on that paradigm. But if you're not feeling it, if you're still feeling like you're kind of in your cozy hibernating mode, roll with it, lean
Yeah.
into the season, not to be too hippie or pagan about it, but the spring is I feel like there is something to do that. Like maybe that's the real new year. So cut yourself some slack. Plus, in the spring, the gym will be a lot emptier.
Yeah,
So
everyone dies off by then.
for all you people try to get in there on January 2nd, trying to get a machine, and for all you regulars at the gym, uh, be nice, be patient with the newbies. They'll be gone in 3 weeks. But in the spring.
You're
So what do you
set.
think about this, Heidi?
I honestly
What do you
think there's a
think?
reason for the seasons, and I know different cultures celebrate New Year's even later, whether in January,
Different
February. I don't
times, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it makes sense to me, especially being an old town Chicago girl, because you didn't come out of hibernation until spring, and then it was like,
Right.
"Woo!" T-shirt, like
Yeah.
you were reborn.
And
You
it was
made it
like
through another
dirty
winter, you
snow
came
and
out. Yeah, yeah. But even here in Cali, it's been chilly. We've had some crazy weather on the coast. I have to ask you about that. And but still feel hibernation. I feel productive, like I'm getting some
Right.
things done to get ready for my new year. But as far as me, I'm sleeping more. I'm
Yeah.
definitely eating more root vegetables. I'm having more tea. Like I'm just cuddling up more. So I don't feel like I really want to go, bah,
Yeah.
new year. I'm going to
I think
starve
that's kind of
myself.
yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm going with this, what you said. It's
Yeah.
like that feeling
Makes
of
sense.
like if you don't feel like you're ready on the launch pad,
Don't
it's
stress
okay. And it
about
might
it.
be, in fact, it might be the natural way to feel. So,
Yeah. Totally.
and for those that are ready to rock, we salute you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Whatever,
You fell
whatever
for
you
it,
want to do,
peeps.
let's go. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's all good. Ain't nothing but a thing. So
Yeah.
let's what this StreamYard get up here. This leave studio button is precariously close to the present button. They need to work on
Oh.
that.
Oh,
I
geez.
almost dipped out of here, y'all.
Oh,
I
no. Leave me hanging.
I'm trying to present. I'm like going to the share screen. Um,
We forgot something, though.
well, oh, Heidi, we did. Okay, ready?
Okay.
Okay, on two. One, two.
Beep. Kind of there. It's like
Final
you're
one.
swallowing my.
Not that I know my gigantic hands. You guys, I have really. And this looks like a special effect.
Spider Man.
Does he have a really tiny head, or is it like it's,
You could cover your.
hands are really large? Gotta be careful with these things. These are mitts. Great on the piano though. Yeah,
And the tunes.
I can't believe you were the one to remember that. I'm usually the one barking that out.
I know. That was the first time I
I
think I
get
brought it
excited
up.
about that. I get excited about our little digital high five. So let's see here. Should we take
Let's
it to
go
the
to the
grid here?
board. And if you're
Let's
not
go to the
familiar
board.
with what board we're talking about, we
You know what?
are
Yeah,
perusing the
we're
posts
going
on
to
Lawrence's Instagram, Kids Get Healthy USA. He
yeah,
shares
let me
daily hot topics. Is
hot
it on there?
topics,
Oops, here
things
it
that I
is.
think are interesting. A lot of stuff, it's a nice archive for me.
Yeah.
Because when I want to retrieve something, I can just kind of go right to my own Instagram and look. And
Mhm.
I'll say it again for anybody new, um, head over to Instagram.com/kidsgethealthyusa. Kids Get Healthy USA is the Instagram, and you'll be able to see daily posts on,
Mhm.
things that I think are worth sharing. And usually Heidi
And
and
what
I will talk about these
what I
during the
like too
show.
is you have the resources listed too. Like the references and
I try
resources
to
are
reference
usually on there.
everything.
Yeah.
If you want to
That's big.
source, yeah, if you want to
Mhm.
source
Well, it cuts
the
down on the
original
naysayers.
material,
It cuts down on the naysayers. You're like, boom, but it's right here. But then there's this, and here's the study. You
bam,
have the sauce. Look at me
bam,
shaking it all.
right there in the ladle. Open up. Let's go. So
It's
yeah,
not
here's
opening. Oh, mhm.
no. Open up your mouth for the sauce.
Oh yeah.
Um, so yeah, here's the last couple of weeks, Heidi. If there's anything catches your eye, we'll jump on it. It's kind of like a game show, Like
I
Heidi's
know.
like, I'll take smartwatches for 500.
Oh, did you have a smartwatch one? I didn't see your smartwatch one.
I
Ooh,
did, and this
huh?
isn't just. Let's go. This is kind of juicy.
I didn't see that
Kind
one.
of juicy.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh gosh. Okay.
smartwatches. So a lot to kind of unpack here and to think about. Um, so what this was, cardiac specialists are now kind of turning to using smartwatches to spot heart problems in kids. What was really interesting was what I thought was kind of fascinating was there was a recent study from Stanford, and what they showed is actually traditional methods can often miss irregular heart rhythms that actually were detected by the smartwatches of all things. And so the study from Stanford Medicine
Wow.
Children's Health discovered 41 young patients had arrhythmias detected by smartwatches between 2018 and 2022. It's about 10 a year. Um, and so they didn't only detect the irregular heart rhythms, but also prompted medical evaluations. And those evaluations that were prompted resulting in more new arrhythmia diagnoses in 29 children. Um, and so, it's a non-invasive means, right? Monitoring heart rhythms, ruling out serious issues. Again, here we are, Heidi, again, finding ourselves talking about technology,
I know.
pros, cons,
Yeah.
what this all means. I don't know if you, something like a Fitbit, have you ever have any experience with like a Fitbit?
I've just deterred from them since they came out. I've been
Yeah,
very judgy, but someone my daughter was gifted a smartwatch, and I was so like, "Wear it for a little bit and put it off." Like, there's
it's
just something that
it
doesn't
is
feel right.
interesting. It is interesting. Anecdotally, I'm gonna weigh in on this
Uh-huh.
and share my experience. A
Yeah.
few years back, I got a Fitbit for a present and wore that and was tracking different things, and it actually was kinda a lot of fun. My resting heart rate, I noticed week to week, and I was exercising. It was kinda gradually creeping up. It's like, "This is very odd." And so I decided to, like, not wear the watch just to kinda check. Didn't wear the watch for about 4 or 5 days, put it back on, and it had kind of retreated back down a few points,
Hmm.
and then within a few days, it started creeping up. Went online, kind of searching, does anybody else have this experience? And turns out I found quite a bit of people that were reporting that. So I thought that was actually kind of interesting, meaning like, was the watch influencing my resting heart rate? Now, it wasn't super dramatic, but I my resting heart rate sitting in the 50s. I was in pretty great shape during that time. I was wearing the watch, and then creeping up into low to mid 60s. So that was kind of interesting. And again, the technology of these things every year changes, improves, and who knows what else. But wearables have their advantages in terms of like you can assess data. How many steps you're doing. You can't see things like these heart patterns. So it is interesting. Um, and again, I think there's always a trade-off of the exposure to the electronic, right? I
Yeah,
guess is where I'm
that's what
going
I
with
was
that.
worried.
But
Mhm.
I think for maybe in cycles and short periods of time when you're trying to, I like to gather data in that way anyway. Like let's do 30 days of something. Maybe we wear a wearable to track, right?
Mhm.
People's phones also have step counting ability and whatnot. So yeah, heart problems, that's a whole other
I
ball of
know.
wax there as we're
We might
kind of
need our own
seeing,
episode on that.
unfortunately, yeah, more and more of that. So in a way, if we can, it it, it might be smart, especially for parents with children that got the you know could be actually smart, might save a life, might detect an arrhythmia that you know wouldn't otherwise
Okay.
be. So
Well, yeah, there you go. You kinda altered my perspective on it because 'cause I'm just like, "No!" And then I'm like, "No, you
Heidi,
know what? There's always a positive. There's always something out of it that
there
someone could benefit." Mhm.
correct. And again, I love this quote. It's not mine. I think it comes from Thomas Sowell, the great Thomas Sowell. Um, there are no solutions, there are only trade-offs, right? And we have to
Mm.
just know what we're willing to trade off. There's no
That's a
perfect
good one.
solutions. I think
Trade-off.
I think that we just
Mhm.
always have to look at these things like, what are the trade-offs involved, right?
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Um, anything else on here, Heidi?
Well, I
What we
mean,
got going on
I've got
here?
a sore subject because I've been hit by this as a mom, the puberty one, but early onset
Okay.
puberty, the
Okay.
early because it happened in our house. And
Sure.
there were playground judgments of, well, it's all the antibiotics she eats and all the hormones and all that and I'm like, I'm a pretty good shopper. Like I don't and compared to other children I know, she's a lot cleaner and she wound up early onset period, early puberty, and now she's like a full grown woman at 13. And but everything all the parts are working. Like I don't
Yeah.
know what to make of that. I can't make it all about the food because I've been on this since she was born. So am I super
Sure.
granola? No. We have a
Right.
little bit of everything, but I wanted to talk about this one. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, this is and this is not completely new information. I think we people that are in health community have been aware of this issue, but now it's kind of getting, a little more media attention. Uh just statistically, a highlight real quick, the average age of puberty's onset which is now, as low as 8 years old, anywhere from 8 to 13. This age has been dropping by about 3 months every decade over the last 40 years.
Oh.
And I wanna say, I don't wanna misquote the data, but I think, like, if you even go back further, 100 years ago, I wanna say it was, like, 14, 15 years old, even 16. So we've definitely seen earlier onset of puberty. Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on it. Obviously, I think food, but to what you touched on, if we just look at hormones and how powerful these are, I mean, we know that when females are around other females, their cycles can sync up. These things can happen. There's a
Mhm.
Wi-Fi
Yeah.
out there with females,
Yep.
and what we can also see is in the environment. Plastics, electronics, what are called xenoestrogens that are
That's what I was gonna
literally
ask you too.
just floating around. And
Yeah.
again, here are the trade-offs, literally coming off this, computer that I'm speaking at right now, right?
Yeah.
Plastic water bottles, Tupperware. I mean, it's very inescapable.
And with the
So
electronics, isn't the blue those rays or whatever?
yeah,
The
yeah.
the
Again, these
stuff that
these
comes off the screen?
These xenoestrogens, yeah, and
Guess the
exactly, and who
hormones
knows
going
how
faster.
hormones are
Mhm.
influenced by just about everything. Our
Yeah.
mitochondria, are energy makers of our cells that are dictated, which is really interesting because all mitochondria comes from, maternally, and all humans kinda come from the same mom. Our mitochondria are very interesting. That's pretty cool.
That
But
is
these are
really cool.
influenced by light, they're influenced by temperature, they're influenced by all kinds of things. I mean, temperature control plays a role in a lot of systems in the body. We do need positive stressors in our body, meaning, things like exercise, I'm sure we're aware of, but even temperature stressors. So the modern environment is very temperature regulated. And what does that mean? It means that the mitochondria are not getting exposure to greater ranges of temperature,
Mm.
meaning they don't get that same level of fitness. Interesting to think about, right? If you
Yeah.
think back before heating and air conditioning, you had different ways of trying to control temperature, but you couldn't regulate it as tightly, right? It gets cold at night, you gotta bundle up, you get a little bit of shiver effect. We avoid a lot of that. We
Uh,
have light being introduced in the evening hours where ordinarily that wouldn't be the case. Melatonin production is, of course, involved in this, and so it's hard to isolate things with the human body.
mm,
So it's pretty complicated. In this, in the particular, um, article that I'm highlighting here, they take touch
mm,
on racial disparities, which I think is a bit misleading the way they frame it. Not that the data is inaccurate, 14% of black girls versus 3.7% of white girls showed no signs by age 6. We also know, though, in these communities, Black, Hispanic communities, obesity rates are higher. Um, some of the, communities that they're in, they might be in, like, a food desert, a food swamp. These kind of socioeconomic things go into how food,
yeah.
plays into it as well.
Yeah.
So, because I'm guessing if we went back to the 40s and 50s, I don't think we would see these big disparities. Like, in the same way we don't, we've seen the disparities in weight, diabetes, these things among, different racial groups. And so, now here they bring up a kind of also a very heavy duty thing is puberty blockers, right?
Mm.
Big debate on that, right?
Oof.
Puberty
Mhm.
blockers like Lupron may be an option, but that requires very careful consideration.
Yeah.
And so that's in a case where, case by case, you kind of got to leave it to the pros for that and get second and third opinions on that. But that's one way to, delay that. There, unfortunately, just maturation in general, unfortunately, is associated with shorter lifespan, and if you look at that, just like kind of true of just mammals in general. The late bloomers tend to live a little longer as well.
Oh.
So those of us that are late bloomers, I was a late bloomer. I guess I'm lucky that way. But for those kids that mature early on, that early maturation, it is associated with shorter lifespan. That doesn't mean it's going to happen that way.
Gotcha.
And I think that there's a lot of other variables. I think the things that we talked about, the exposure to the things we were talking about, diet and environment, that as well. It's not just the fact that maturing early, but the underlying
Mhm.
reasons behind that, the root. So
Gotcha, gotcha.
yeah. So
Makes sense.
it is a big deal.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It is, and I'm curious how that will evolve in the coming years.
We will, yeah, we shall certainly see. So
We shall certainly
kind of good to
see.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we got
Any
another
from
fun one,
yeah,
tech one here.
anything go ahead. Yeah.
Virtual reality, because we were talking about this.
Oh,
We talked
yeah.
about this on a previous episode about
Lazy eye? Yeah, we were talking about
I
that,
so
yeah.
here's a kind of what I was kind of really wanting to talk about this one with you, so I'm just jumping ahead and grabbing this
Yeah,
one. But
please.
here's a case where we can sort of use technology in a great way to fix something, right? Luminopia, right? So luminopia, lazy eye, and what I found interesting, what jumped out at me was that at least where we're at currently, they're trying to see if there's some workarounds where they can um, change this fact. But scientific dogma says that if people with amblyopia um, don't learn to fuse signals from both eyes from a young age, they never will. So, tackling lazy eye uh, can be important. And so they're using virtual reality. And so the existing treatments are eye patches.
Okay.
Um, so the challenge amblyopia creates a winner-take-all situation in the brain where the stronger eye dominates, and that causes like depth perception issues.
Wow,
Um,
okay.
and so in the virtual reality therapy involves the kids just watching shows like Sesame Street, right? They're watching Sesame Street, SpongeBob, and they're watching it in VR. And kind of the way that they set up the screens, it forces the brain to combine the input from both eyes, and it showed improvements in eye chart assessments after 3 months of
Wow.
this.
Isn't that crazy?
So
Last episode, we're like, how it was rooted in my friend's eye, kid's eyes. And then I'm like, it's
FDA,
helping others. You
yeah,
just
FDA cleared it in 2021. It's available by prescription with a copay of about $50 a month.
wow, okay.
So
Huh,
something that's kind of we'll see that. But again, a good example of how technology can be used to solve a
benefit.
problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Solve a problem.
I'm glad you brought that one up. Yeah, that's a good one. I think may this be the year that folks step into their sovereignty and just choose what's best for them and allow others to choose what's best for them. I
Here,
think we
here.
got to put down the pitchforks and say it's a fit in all in one box thing now. I think things are just we're so
Yeah,
lucky that we have such a big range of
we have
information and options.
a lot of options. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
exactly right, and I think that we should resist the temptation to just quickly snap judge, these things or throw out the baby with the bathwater as it is, right?
Yep.
I
Yep.
think a lot of technology, and I'm the guy for this, right? I've always been kind of like I was like the last person with a cell phone, right? Like kind of rolling my eyes at technology. But all technologies, when they come along, they're met with a bit of like cynicism or whatever. But eventually, things keep moving forward.
Mhm.
It's hard to put the
Mhm.
genie back in the bottle.
Yes.
So what can we do with
Yeah.
it?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Plus, it all comes down to how is your meat suit working? And isn't the gut and the gut biome? You had something on that. Like that
Oh
is really
yeah.
I had just had
Yeah.
I had this little reading done and it was all about the gut, like keep your gut biome and just keep an eye on it, check it, and I'm like, I realize how important that is to your overall well-being.
Absolutely. And this
Mhm.
idea of the gut microbiome and the brain connection is also not new, but what they're what they're able to do now is to get a lot more detailed. I still think it's in its infancy. I don't think we have things perfected of like which strains are, perfectly correlated with which outcomes. When when a lot of the research on this in this area came along. I remember like in the 90s, back in the day, I worked at GNC and the category of probiotics started to explode.
Mhm.
and we know, okay, we know probiotics has the good bacteria, right? And a lot of products just came to the market. It was kind of like an arms race. This product got 50 million, this product's got 100 million, this got 7 trillion strains, and um, and I was actually pretty gung ho on them. I've kind of changed course over the years of how I feel about probiotics. I feel like certain probiotics in certain situations are needed, but I'm not so willy nilly as I used to be about telling people go ahead and take whatever. What
Okay.
what this is showing, they used advanced machine learning, right, and demonstrated the capability of gut microbial profiles to predict variations in brain structure and cognitive performance, right?
Oh,
And
wow.
this highlights the potential for early detection and intervention strategies in neurodevelopment. What does that mean? So they looked at specific gut microbes, right? And so they got these particular strains that they seem to be able to track nicely with brain structure, cognitive performance. And on the flip side of that, they were also able to identify some not so friendly microbes. Um, what this will hopefully lead to can be ways where we can manipulate the gut. We know that like certain ways of eating can manipulate, beneficial bacteria. Your fiber is kind of known for that, right? Your prebiotic, your foods for the friendly bacteria. But this hopefully will lead to something much more specific. Um, but it just shows, like, and again, what negatively impacts the gut microbiome in general? Processed foods. We know that, right? Your foods with your added sugars, your seed oils, all this stuff. We do see disruptions in the gut microbiome, and that leads to negative issues with cognition, also mental health, right? So not
Mm.
just like how sharp you are, how smart you are, but just your feelings of anxiety, mood, and whatnot. So yeah, pretty neat
Gotcha.
stuff. I love
Yeah.
studies like this because they're identifying particular strains, and that gets me excited because they're able to now, I think, key in a little closer on where should we be putting our attention. But the body's so complex.
I know.
One
Oh,
thing leads to another,
yeah.
leads to another. So we're just trying to
Yeah.
figure it out.
Trying to
I think
figure it out and assist it because it's supposed to regenerate. Mhm. Right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think using machine learning, AI, all these things to be able to solve these problems, I think we're actually going to be seeing like some Star Trek stuff in a few years, to be
Oh,
honest.
I'm
If it,
confident on that. I feel they're already using that kinda stuff. They're just not letting
right?
us use it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely,
The
absolutely.
minions who are
Yes,
churning the cog or what
yes,
cogging, whatever
yes.
it's called.
And actually, I'm gonna jump over to here to
Yeah.
asthma, right? Because we
Oh, yeah.
in a previous episode we talked about um, asthma being related to the microbiome and the environment, and what this looked at is a treatment of medications, man-made antibody that is sort of used for asthma, right? But now this is being shown to help with food allergies. Now, how does it work, right? Man-made antibody works by tamping down a component of the immune system called the IgE, that's immunoglobulin E. You can get IgE tests at the allergist that can show a true allergy. So true allergies differ from food sensitivities, right? A food allergy is a pretty discernible thing. Like you eat a food, you
Mhm.
get a rash, you get a breakup, you get a breakout, you get teary-eyed, anaphylaxis, right? Throat closes, can be really scary.
Yeah.
And so this antibody, it dampens down this component of the immune system because that immunoglobulins that get released in abundance when the body mistakenly identifies an allergen as a parasitic infection is pretty wild.
Mm.
So this is a therapy that is showing, and something like this. Again, I'm always looking for prevention, right?
Yeah.
And we've talked about allergies and asthma. That all starts honestly before the baby's even born. What's the diet of the mom like? What's the microbiome of the mom like? Was the baby born vaginally or through cesarean section, right? That's going to influence the microbiome of the baby. That's going to influence the immune system. All of these things. What was the child's diet like? What medications were they exposed to in early age that might have impacted it, right? So I'm still a believer in all of those upfront first line preventive it, situations. and also exposure therapy and other natural ways we can. But let's face it, and I have a close friend of mine, her kids, all of them, she's got 4 kids, and they all have just crazy food allergies, and unfortunately, they're different among them.
Oh,
So you can
no.
imagine
My
how
gosh. Poor
complicated that
thing.
is. And
Yeah.
so for someone in her situation, and there's many, 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 many of her out there that are dealing with this could really, really be a great game changer, right?
Okay.
Problem is, look, the cost, right?
Oh,
So we'll
shit.
see. Full
Excuse me.
FDA approval could bring down costs, but right now, it's called Xolair, Xolair. Now, as it's priced out for asthma, $3,600 a month.
It's bullshit. Well,
Right,
wait, what are
right.
your thoughts on parasites and
Go to
asthma or
Mexico.
metal detoxes? Yeah, go to Mexico for sure. But what are
Um,
your thoughts on just detoxing for
yeah, I mean, the parasite's always kinda worth it. This is so we'll kind of tease this out real quick. So this is where the
Yeah, yeah,
body is
yeah.
mistaking the allergen for a parasite, right? So we're not
Okay.
talking about parasites.
Okay.
But to go to your question on parasites, yeah, um, we all got them, whether you
Yeah.
like it or not. Um, so yeah, they can cause all kinds of crazy, situations. Parasites, typically, I will say a couple like heads ups as far as symptoms. Any kind of nighttime, nighttime itchiness, disturbance, usually around midnight. That's kind of morning for parasites in the body. So,
Okay. Because I'm
anywhere
just
from
thinking the kids, they could get relief doing a few start with the metal and then move to the
th-
parasites.
they could
Yeah.
do that in a way. And one thing I will say that why that might help is that
Mhm.
just the burden on the immune system could be decreased, and that is essentially how a lot of these drugs work anyways. You're tamping down kind of it's overreacting because the burden might be higher, right? The threat might feel higher. So reducing systemic burden is actually kind of it is a smart approach. Um, but if you have a true, IgE allergy, it's going to take more than that,
Mm.
and again, the slow moving micro exposure is one technique. So someone's got like a kid's got a peanut allergy, they get like a micron of peanut exposure, and then it
Gotcha.
gets slowly increasing that. But I think that
Right.
it's always a good idea though to consider, yeah, I mean, are there parasites? What's going on? And that's where you need a lot of like it'd be impossible to give like a broad recommendation on a show. Like we'd have to have like an individual situation come up and say, okay, here's what I would do. But if we look at
Mhm.
anaphylaxis, I mean, this is 30,000 ER visits a year. 30,000
Jeez.
ER visits, 2,000 hospitalizations,
Oy.
150 deaths, which is
Yeah.
150 too many, you know.
Yeah. Totally. Oh, that's sad.
So
That's a bummer.
yeah.
Man, I just
So
see sticker prices like that, and I'm just like, that's when I go full like pitchfork because I'm like, geez. But at the same time, I'm trying to go, well, what's the holistic approach? Do you really need that?
yeah,
That,
yeah.
yeah.
It's
Um,
it would be nice if we had a system where it was, true competition with markets and these things weren't sort of,
I
there's
know.
plus and minuses to patents, but in
Yeah.
the end, when someone can monopolize a treatment, they can call the shots when it comes to price.
Ugh.
And there's that window of
Yeah.
time until things go, generic or whatnot. But
Yeah.
so those are some of the developments. I think as always, it's, you know, we want to consider what are the trade-offs, what are the natural means that we could address up front. Have we tried it? Have we tried all those? Have we exhausted
Mhm.
our options? And then,
Mhm.
going from there. But
Mhm. Mhm.
we certainly do have a lot of asthma and a lot of allergies. So
I know. And a lot of new influences in our skies and things. So it's an ongoing,
a
ongoing
lot of things
situation
to
here.
react to.
Yeah. Holy smokes. Well, I want to circle back just for a moment about the holidays again because it is kind of end of the year here. This will air right in the new year when everyone's got their they're ready to go, like we're saying, like health or whatever. They're just jumping in. But I have to tell you, the most peaceful holiday I've had is this year when I've had the third or fourth cookie, when I went and I didn't freak out. And that's my old programming. I would freak out. I'd spend my time counting the sugar, counting
Yeah.
all the contents of it. I just I realized I just savored every bite, and lo and behold, I didn't want the whole bunch then, but I
Yeah.
enjoyed it, and I really was able to model that behavior now for my kids. And I think
Awesome.
that's a big to do, because the
Yeah.
holidays, you literally have advertising like showing you the craziness of the glutton of holidays and the gluttony and all this stuff, but they're endorsing it, and then they take it back and say, "Oh, you sinner, now you got to get rid of everything because you overindulged." And
Right.
it's so imbalanced, and
Coming
it's
and
made
going.
yeah, and it's supposed to trip you a little bit, but I tell you, there's nothing like coming to peace with what you choose. And if you are in creative control of it, like, yeah, I had one batch of coconut flour and like the good stuff. And then I had the batches of just whatever I found and at home or wherever, the cheapest.
Right.
And it was okay. It was okay because we
Yeah.
enjoyed it and we put it away. It's not, please be careful of beating yourself up. That's my
Yeah.
point. That
No,
causes more
absolutely.
damage than a whole batch of cookies.
Absolutely. In
Eh,
fact, I would even say that a high amount of stress going into, trying to keep your diet perfectly healthy is far, far worse than, you know, breaking that perfect diet
right.
for
Right.
a little something here and there. It's health is not just the food. It's our behavior, our relationship with it, our relationship with ourselves. Are we too hard on ourselves? We need to forgive ourselves. And it's just not realistic to expect, as we're talking about kids, right? As parents to model this behavior, they're gonna be out there in the real world. And that's kind of all or nothing. It just ends up creating fixations,
Yeah.
rebellions, internal kind of like, you're pedestaling it, as I always like to say. You're
Hmm.
you're putting it into a special, unique category, so that taboo food all of a sudden becomes the prized thing.
Hmm.
Don't do
Hmm.
that. Don't eat
Yeah.
that. Can't have that. And then that
Yeah.
becomes immediately the thing that you want the most. And then you
Hmm.
have it, and then you go back to, oh my God, why did I do that? And I'm a bad person, or it's all
Yeah, it's a vicious
nonsense.
cycle.
It
Yeah,
is a
and
vicious
some parent
cycle.
some parents don't even know they're doing it. Like, I've been around moms recently who, really put in a lot of work, but they have this old programming that's like every bite, they're like, "I shouldn't be doing that. I shouldn't," in front of their kids. And then it's like, "Oh my god, well, you guys have it, but oh my gosh, I need to." And I'm like, the conversation alone around the holidays and food and nutrition needs to shift a little bit,
Yeah.
and
Just
pay attention to your meat suit. It'll tell you what's up. I overindulged one night and I got knocked out and I missed a movie because I passed out from sugar and I was like, too much.
a carb
And
coma.
yeah, carb coma. But what a far cry from back in the day when it was emotional eating, it was stress eating, and it was escapism. And when you don't have to do that, you just enjoy. It's becomes a whole nother level of you up level yourself. It's the next level there. But
Well
go
said.
grace yourself for heaven's sakes.
Well said. Couldn't
Uh,
have said it better, Heidi. I think it's and all this on. I would say this too, also for the like New Year's resolution crowd. It's like, you know, I've said this before, and I'll use this analogy again. It's like, if we have these goals, it's like, oh, maybe my goal is to run a marathon.
mhm.
Well, the day will come, you'll run the marathon, but then you have to deal with what happens after the day after. And so, in thinking about that, think of, to use that metaphor and that analogy, is become a runner. Becoming a runner is a different thing than I'm going to do a marathon. Like, yeah, set
Mhm.
a goal, do a marathon. But if you think of it in terms of becoming a runner, it's an identity. You can continue to cultivate it, and you'll be a runner the day after the race still. It'll be something that you can continue to see yourself as. And so if if change doesn't come from a sense of identity, if we just put a number or a goal, we're setting ourselves up for disappointment, and that's clear.
Mhm.
And so goals are good, but systems are even better.
Oh, I love
Systems are
that.
even better. Systems are the things that we do daily. And so, yeah, I think it's great to have a target. I think it does propel us,
Yeah.
but kind of think of that become a runner analogy in whatever it is you're doing and get good at that.
Okay.
I did squats yesterday. It's like, I'm going to work on squatting, right? Seeing things as a skill that you're always refining.
Mm.
You know, when you're
Yeah.
preparing meal, I'm gonna work on my cooking today. Like adding that thing of where you're always feeling like you're a part of a skill that is being cultivated, that will sustain you because we
Mhm.
can always continue to improve and enhance and refine, and it becomes our identity. In the kitchen, I'm a chef. Out when I'm running in the field, I'm an athlete, right? We can take on those identities and those can stay with us. And so think of the new year, maybe just think of what who do you want to become, right? To borrow it
Mhm.
from James Clear, I love this expression. He said, every action and behavior is a vote for the person who you would like to be.
Mm. That's
So
awesome. That's
cast a
perfect.
vote. You let your
Yeah.
actions cast a vote for the person that you would like to become
Awesome.
and who you are.
Yeah, real quick, do you have any I have a New Year's thing. Do you have, a
I
goal or is that
do.
the
I do.
squats one?
Well, I have a goal that actually has been a goal for a while now because I'll be turning 50.
Yeah.
I'm turning 50 in August, and I'm going to dunk a basketball. So,
Woohoo!
the squats that I was mentioning, it's a training.
For
There's
that.
jumping. There's
Okay.
a whole lot going on. Um, I'm
Awesome.
I'm purposely heavier than I would ordinarily be, so that I'm training at a heavier weight. I'm going to be a little transparent here. Currently 213 pounds. And I'll be dropping that as I get closer to my birthday,
Well, you're
so I
six
can
three or something, right?
I
Or
can
6
jump.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm 6'3".
Mm.
So if the 50-year-old white boy can dunk a ball, you know
That's awesome. That's
that's
fantastic.
yeah. And then professionally, I just would love to see kids get healthy, kind of go to another level. Rainbow Chefs Academy. Shout out to Rainbow Chefs
Woohoo!
and Lana. I know that she likes
Yay.
to listen to these. So
Oh, hi, Lana.
there's some milestones that
Yeah.
those I'll just kind of
Awesome.
keep to myself.
Perfect.
But yeah, business
Good.
milestones and then some personal stuff too. But how
That's
about you?
perfect. Yeah, talk about that New Year's goal. I'm like, get simple. So I'm focusing on my liver. I'm just
Okay,
paying attention to how I'm handling my liver because I am expecting to further my detoxing and which I haven't done in so long and get rid of a couple of ailments, but my liver's working overtime. It's old school. I have the old fatty. I've got to regenerate some organs. So I'm just starting simple there. I just added a tea to my day, my milk thistle, and I'm
nice.
just cognizant now of what I'm doing there. I'm also talking to it.
Speak lovingly to your
Yeah.
liver.
Yes. And I'm thinking in those
Yeah,
steps. I'm like longevity and health. And so I'm just baby steps with the body. But as far as business too, yes, I'm looking forward to expanding more. I really enjoy talking to fellow way showers online and I'm expanding that a little more and getting a little more consistent. Um, but overall, I'm going to remember that I'm modeling behavior for my kids and I'm going to trust my intuition.
amen
Really.
to that. Yeah. No, it's been great. And you're right where you belong and what you're doing and giving me a platform and other people. And then I've seen you on some other shows around
It's
the
been fun.
interwebs. Um,
It's been fun.
you're right
Thank
where you
you.
need to be.
You guys called it out, what, 30 years ago? You called it out. So it's all had to just find its way. And now the roots are starting to go in. So it's happening. It's all
Absolutely.
good stuff. Yeah. Yay. Well, I wish
So this is
everyone the
it.
most joyous new year. Yeah. I think this will be it. This will air in the New Year's, but I'm sending so many blessings and well wishes to you all to have the most optimum, healthy, and enigmatic new year you can. Follow your bliss, trust yourself,
And
And Lawrence, I'm
2024, real quick, numerologically is 8, and that is a wonderful number for karma and all the good things that we've done in our life will come to
yep.
roost
Woohoo!
according to the numbers. So there you go.
We got this.
We
We
got
got
this.
this. Cheers. Cheers to everybody. Yeah, bing.
My
And
massive
we
hand.
we're going to close out again with Lawrence's Kids Get Healthy trailer. So check out, you get another
Kids Get
fine-tuned
Healthy,
feeling of what he's all about.
kidsgethealthy.com. Reach out to me at Lawrence at
Oh, yeah.
kidsgethealthy.com or Instagram, Kids Get Healthy USA. And I am here. You can DM me on Instagram if you have any questions. Here for y'all.
Woohoo. Thanks, everybody. Be well.
Peace.